What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another weekly news video. As is always the case with these, we have a stack of things to talk about. We'll first kick things off with the whole whatnot crackdown on repacks. Yes, I talked about this yesterday, but I want to share some more thoughts on that, and then also tie it into the whole PSA certification of repacks, that service that they're now offering that they first launched with GameStop and Geoff Wilson. Because something happened with Geoff Wilson's repack that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, that in my opinion draws into question why so many people are basically saying PSA have the expertise to certify repacks, because there was an issue, Geoff flagged there was an issue, and no one's really talking about it. So I'm going to unpack that. We'll then talk about the return of Topps basketball, because Topps now have the licenses back from Panini as of October 1st. So I want to show you what some of those cards look like. And then we'll close off the video with some, cards that I recently acquired. I'll quickly show those off, and then talk to you guys about a video that I'm going to do with the Sports Card Professor in the next 12 or 24 hours that you guys will see on his channel in the coming days. So, bear with me as always, and, as always, share your comments down in the comments below when you sort of see me discussing things that you agree or don't agree with. Now, the first thing, like I said, is going to be the whatnot announcement when it comes to their crackdown on repacks. Effective as of November 3rd, they're basically saying that if you're not a pre-approved business, you're no longer allowed to sell repacks on our platform, which is huge news when you think about how many of these things have been selling on that platform over the last couple of years. Fundamentally is a good thing. I've been talking about this for a number of years on my channel about businesses needing to crack down and self-regulate before somebody comes in and does it for them. So it's good to sort of see whatnot come out and do it. I think it's too little too late. And as I said in my last video, I think it's really curious why they've decided today to come out and do it. Are they doing it because, PSA has their own certification? Are they doing it because they think Fanatics is going to do something different? Or are they doing it because they're getting whispers on the ground about a regulator of some sorts coming in and trying to do a crackdown on the gambling that occurs within this industry? Now, fundamentally, if you haven't seen this news yet, whatnot essentially classify repacks into two different categories, one being product produced professionally by people like Topps, Panini, Pokemon TCG, and the like, and those that are manufactured by a breaker, as an example. So you sort of have efficiently produced products, i.e. sealed boxes of cards, and then the traditional repacks, which is what is highlighted in blue over here. Now, as of the announcement, no one is fully approved into this category. So currently no one is approved. Geoff Wilson went out and said he was one, so maybe his business is approved. But it's one of those things that I think is really curious, and I'm interested to see how whatnot go ahead and police this, because there's some really negative language in here that sort of contradicts itself that might indicate they're not going to be as hard and fast as what this announcement is trying to be. Now, if you're not sure how it's going to work, basically to be an approved repacker on their platform, they're going to review and evaluate every business that submits to them. And it says over here they're going to review things like the business having sufficient controls. They're going to review, information about the product they're selling. Is it consistent, reliable? They're going to review the organization structure, whether or not they're a public-facing company with documentation, i.e. maybe they're a listed company, what their manufacturing procedures are, and how, mature their business is, i.e. are they a blow-in, or have they been around for a number of years? Do they have goodwill within the community? Now, the thing over here that a lot of people have jumped to and talked about as to why this is a fantastic thing is because what they say over here is that they're going to require independent auditors in some specific instances. Now, when people have talked about this, they've talked about whatnot requiring auditors for everyone that's going through this process, but that's not what this says over here. What it does say, in highlighted in blue, it basically says, to evaluate this, some manufacturers may need to work with a specialized independent auditor to review their manufacturing process. Now, the fact they're saying some manufacturers may need to work with an independent auditor makes me very nervous. I think they should be mandating this and making it mandatory for every single business that wants to sell on their platform, because my first question is going to be, how are you going to choose who needs it and who doesn't need it? And because it's basically of your own opinion to decide who gets it and doesn't get it, how many people are you going to actually ask to go ahead and use this process? I think this is a very important thing. I like the fact they've called out an independent auditor, but they should be making it mandatory for everyone, in my personal opinion, because that means you're going to have a consistent approach to doing it, and you're going to have no bad eggs essentially slip through. And obviously, audits can go wrong. They're not going to capture everything. Audits are done for very specific purposes, so sometimes people misunderstand what the audit is actually covering. But if whatnot basically say, hey, we have a repack business, or we want repackers to come onto our platform, you guys need to verify that these things are getting randomized, the packaging is being randomized, it's all being done independently, and you need somebody to sign off on all of those things, including the distribution of these to customers. That's what they should be mandating. So the fact they're saying only some manufacturers will need to do it, or not even will, some manufacturers may need to do it, is just two double negatives that it makes me feel like whatnot's not going to actually police it and not actually going to implement this. Now, obviously, like I said in my video the other day, Maybe this language is there to sort of encourage businesses to go to an auditor themselves and say, hey, this is going to be part of the documentation when you guys approve us. We've done it without you even asking. Yes, I think that's a good thing, but Whatnot should be making this mandatory, because stuff like this, is very important. And when you've seen all the scams that have gone on these platforms over the years, it's not good enough, right? They need to be doing better, which is why they've come out with this announcement in the first place. Now, I can't recall if I said it earlier. This is effective from November 3rd. So businesses between today and November 3rd can continue to rip people off. But fundamentally, once this date passes, it's going to be looking very different on their platform. Now, this little section over here essentially talks about what businesses fall under this professionally sealed surprise products, i.e. boxes of cards, so it's your traditional things like Pokemon, Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, blah, 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 blah. But what it does say over here is that no businesses are formally approved as of November 3rd, effective November 3rd, to sell repacks on their platform, which sort of contradicts the post from Geoff Wilson the other day that he had on Instagram saying Cards HQ is approved considering they use PSA certified repacks. Now that is where, my line of thinking comes next, because this is where there's a bit of a problem, and it goes to videos I spoke about last time about what the heck does PSA know about certifying a repack. In this section over here, when they talk about what is conditionally approved, it is products certified by PSA certified repack service, which I guess is why Geoff Wilson is saying he's, approved, because he would therefore fall into this category and not this one. So apologies earlier. But the reason why this is very important, and as I did show in my video yesterday, in this video over here with Geoff Wilson when he went on Dustin the Sports Card Dad's channel 3 to 4 weeks ago, about 6 minutes in, I'll play the clip for you in a second, he basically says that there was errors within the certification process. Values basically changed drastically between when they started the repack and when they finished it, which is naturally going to happen with a repack because prices are valued at a point in time. But what he did say that was very important and nobody has seemed to clue into is the fact that he said PSA put the wrong cards in the wrong product. That's a huge issue in my opinion. And that completely defeats the purpose of what an independent person coming in and overseeing a process is there to do.
But, there are things with that need to be improved, right? Like we had some misses where there were cards on the checklist that were either dropped in value a lot after we bought them, or in a couple of cases we made a mistake and put like the wrong card got into the product because of the way that we're doing all the sorting with PSA and everything. So, there's certain
the fact that you've got PSA coming in with no expertise in offering a repack service, now being approved by Whatnot as a business you can trust, and then the first business they've gone ahead and done it with, which was Geoff Wilson's, and they've made a mistake. Why are we placing reliance on them as a business to do this effectively? Obviously mistakes are going to happen. I'm not saying PSA don't try and do new things. That's what I talked about last time. I like the fact they're challenging themselves and trying to do something different and trying to bring some comfort to the wider market. But they've made a mistake. They've put the wrong cards in the wrong product, which means the product being sold by Geoff Wilson was inaccurate and therefore not eligible. And that's basically what Whatnot talked to in this process. They trust these businesses because they're public facing, because they've done the research, because they've verified their processes. Yet PSA put the wrong cards in the wrong product and we're saying they're reliable. Sure, they might be reliable, but in my personal opinion, that's not good enough. And I just don't know why everyone's basically putting PSA on a pedestal, saying they can do this fantastic job when the first chance they got, they stuffed it up. Now, Geoff didn't share how big of an issue this was or how many cards were actually impacted. But for me, that's not good enough, right? We need to see more. We need to understand more. And I want to know why Whatnot is putting them on that pedestal and why no one's really talking about this issue from Geoff. You announce this new product and you fuck it up with the first one that you do. Mistakes are going to happen. I encourage mistakes to happen because that's how companies learn and get better. But we need pushback. Why is Whatnot blindly trusting them? That just tells me this is, a bit of a marketing gimmick perhaps, and not actually looking to sort of implement and do things the right way. So anyway, share your thoughts down below. I'll play that clip of Geoff Wilson. At least I think I'll attach it a bit earlier. If I forgot to do it, it is this video over here from 3 to 4 weeks ago. It's about 6 or 5 minutes in. Just watch it up until the 8-minute mark and you'll see what I mean with what Geoff has said. But again, one of those things, very sketchy, very questionable. I just don't know why people are saying, hey, PSA is an approved person. Like, come on, guys. What do they know about certifying repacks? What do they know about randomizing products into cards? They're a grade of first and foremost. People need to remember that before they go ahead and apply blind trust in them. And the fact that Whatnot is doing that themselves, when they're essentially saying they want to verify all these things, yet the first chance PSA does, they stuff it up, is just not good enough. Stick to grading for the time being, sort your crap out, and then come out and start offering this as a service, because it's just crazy to me. But anyway, you guys can let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, very quickly, keeping on with the trend of grading, I wanted to quickly highlight the grading numbers for September. I'll do a specific video on this in the coming days. But SGC have essentially declined by 50% month on month, which is insane. September numbers are not good for them, and it's just a further indication that PSA is turning them into that boutique brand. It's really sad to see, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. They're essentially down 60% year on year. PSA's done a bit better in the last month, but their month on month has changed 6%. And when I say in the last month, I mean compared to last year. But one of those things where CGC keep going from strength to strength. And I think fundamentally what has happened is that everybody that was previously grading with SGC has gone to CGC. Because what I think has happened in the past is SGC had some core customer bases. They were generally opposed to PSA. And that was a lot of what you saw online when people talked about why they went with CGC or SGC, sorry. So I think that's what we're now seeing with CGC numbers themselves. So, very sad to see. I'll put a specific video out on this in the coming days, but basically SGC is dead. And like I said last time, unless you've got your entire PC in SGC and you don't care about resale value, I'd be having a serious, think about, getting those things out of those slabs because, I don't think people are going to care about them long term. And maybe I'm wrong by saying that. That's much my personal opinion, but just be a bit careful out there because these numbers are not looking good and they're only going to get worse, especially with the fact that PSA have come out time and time again and said they're a boutique brand and they don't really care about them anymore. So, share your thoughts on that one down in the comments below, but not looking good for SGC or competitiveness within the grading market. Now, very quickly, I wanted to quickly show the 2025-26 Topps basketball, the return of licensed Topps basketball. I think these designs look pretty good and just goes to show they could have done a lot better with the pajama cards they released over the last 2 years. These went for pre-order, I think, yesterday or the day before. I don't think we have a release date yet. They're coming out, I think, in this month, if I remember correctly, sometime in October, in the next couple of weeks. There's no definitive date just yet. But I think these inserts look pretty good. I want to know what you guys think down below, whether or not you pre-ordered any. I didn't bother. I'm going to try and get some of these locally myself, but we'll sort of see how it goes. But I think these inserts look nice. I like the All Kings insert. I think, they showed that a little bit clearer themselves on some of their Instagram posts and things like that. But, keen to hear what you guys have to say, because I'm not a huge person who buys modern product because I think it's too expensive and I think it's overprinted. But, it's cool to sort of reminisce now and go back to what we had in the 2000s with Topps basketball and having it be licensed and sort of seeing some new designs. Because obviously Panini got very, very stale. They got very lazy. But that's not to say Topps haven't essentially done the same things. So yeah, let me know if you've pre-ordered any of this down below and what your thoughts are of the return of this product, whether or not you've managed to get any or will be getting any through breaks or anything like that. But one of those ones that I think is good because I like these cards, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't like what sort of happened in the last couple of years, but you know what? I'm a card collector. Hate me for saying that. In terms of what's next, I mentioned in the intro that I'm going on and doing a video with a sports card professor. So we're going to record that in about 12 or 13 hours now. It's going to be on his channel. It's not going to be a live stream. He doesn't want to do a live stream first time. I think we'll try and do a live a little bit later on, and we'll put that on both our channels. But it's basically going to interview me, and we're just going to talk shit about the hobby, just chat about a few things, what we like, don't like. I don't think we've got a specific agenda or anything like that. We're just going to see what comes up. I'm assuming he's going to have pre-questions that he's going to ask me, but check that out in the coming days on his channel. I like his stuff, and we need more pushback culture in this hobby, to be perfectly honest with you. We need more people to be asking good questions, and he's done that in the last few months. He's been around a long time, but his channel's basically blown up. So if you haven't seen his channel, go ahead and check it out. And if you have, obviously stay tuned when the video does drop. And obviously, if there's anything you want me to talk to on his channel, please let me know down in the comments below. By the time you're seeing this video, it'll be about 6 hours before I'm going to jump on with him. So, drop those down below, and I'll make sure that I bring them up with him and I can chat through it on his channel. Now, I also said that I picked up some cards recently. I showed the mail day from Ship My Cards, but no one really watched the video. I've got a couple of cards here that have come back from PSA, both Flawless Soccer. So I've got one over here of an Andrea Pirlo, 8 out of 10. This came back as a PSA 8. I bought that previously, but then went ahead and got it graded. And then the Frank Lampard over here that I've shown off before on the channel came back as an authentic. I got both of these done with a minimum grade of 8. So obviously the Pirlo came as an 8. The Frank Lampard came as an authentic. As I said in my mail day video, I don't really care about grades. But what I've noticed is trends show that authentics sell for more than a PSA 7 and below. So that's why I went ahead and did that, because fundamentally that's why I got these graded. I talked before, these are very much PC items for me. I don't really ever want to let them go. But getting them in PSA slabs mean that if I do need to sell them ever quickly, it's going to happen a lot faster in a PSA slab versus raw or via my go-to brand CGC. Some people will say that's contradictory or call me a hater or an idiot, whatever. I'm going to put cards in slabs that make the most sense for me and my family. And if I ever need to sell them quickly, they're going to sell for a lot more and a lot faster in a PSA slab. Now, I had some 2 pretty cool Eminence pickups. I went from having no Eminence cards to having 2 back-to-back. This one's over here of Fabio Cannavaro from 2018 Eminence Soccer, the first year of Eminence. And it is, as you can see, from the Championship Calligraphy set. It has a diamond in there. Don't really care about the diamond, but I like the fact that it says 2006 World Cup around that diamond. It's a nice auto, apart from that little smudge there with the pen. Italy won that tournament. Fabio won the Ballon d'Or that year for being the best player in the world. So for my PC, it was a no-brainer to pick up. If I remember correctly, one of these hasn't sold in like 4 or 5 years, and this insert rarely sells. So I got it pretty cheap, so I'm very happy with that. And I've just tried to grab things while I can, including this Larry Bird from the first year of Eminence Basketball. It's a patch auto, not the big patch window, but I prefer this one over the other patch autos, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think it's a great auto. The other ones of Larry Bird, like I said in my mail day, often go off card, or he's run out of room and he's just, squished the auto together. But I think this one looks pretty good. I think it's 4 of 10 from what I can see there, and it is match worn. I like the fact that it's got a 2-color patch. I've seen some nicer patches in these, but it is what it is. I got this pretty cheap. I got it for $500 USD posted, which is very, very cheap compared to what they normally sell for. So the guy basically took my offer $800 under what he was selling it for, which is insane. But that's the modern hobby. People are looking to dump cards, and I've had this one on my watch list for 3 to 4 years in my saved searches on eBay. So I'm very happy to get this. And yeah, keen to add a bit more to the collection. And I want to know what you guys think about those down in the comments below. Obviously, I think the gold Eminence looks the best in terms of the cards numbered 5 or less, because they have the gold shimmer on them. But they don't come up very often, and the fact that I got these for so cheap means you just got to buy what you can get when you can get them. So beggars can't be choosers, basically. Anyway, long video today. Apologies. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll see you guys and girls in the next one.